Hey, good morning. This is Craig Oldham with Mahdlo. I'm here with Tom Cole, President and CEO of RDA. Tom, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Craig. Great to see you again.
Yeah, great to talk to you again. It's like part two of our conversation. And we wanted to hit on, because, Tom and I have lunch all the time. We have these conversations. So it's kind of a natural outshoot to just say, why don't we record them? Because we're interesting to ourselves at least, right? So I wanted to talk about technology because as we're going in and talking to clients, and we've had this conversation before that they often hit on, we find that they hit on four areas, right? Which is strategic alignment, process velocity, technology, and people. And oftentimes when people at least approach one of our advisors, it's really around, I think I've got a technology problem, right? And it feels like that's it. And oftentimes it is, when you look at that, it's either technology or marketing or the selections that people make. But fundamentally, it's really around the technology period and how it's enabling your growth, right? So as you're kind of thinking about this and you've talked to your customers and clients, how do you think marketing technology can enable or stall growth, and how do you look at that?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's interesting in that a lot of times our clients will view technology as some sort of silver bullet. And we like to bring them back to, wait a second, what you're trying to do is respond to what your buyers are asking you to do, what the buyers are driving your marketplace to evolve to. And you're trying to be a leader in that space. And so really it comes down to, do you have the capability to do what you want to do? Not do you have the right technology, but the capability. And to your four pillars that you mentioned a second ago, people and technology are so tightly combined. Do you have the ability to personalize content and satisfy a buyer's need for a particular piece of content or some research or something? Well, if the customer asks a question a certain way, can you pivot? Can you respond to that? Can you alter your content? Can you personalize it to them? Do you even test the ability to see what a customer asks for and then understand what's the best response? Can you dynamically change if a customer asks for something and you were going to give them one piece of content, but they asked a certain way, and so really you need to pivot and provide something different? Well, these are levels of understanding and levels of thinking that a marketing person needs to be able to do, or a salesperson needs to be able to do. And you might do it subconsciously, or you might not do it at all. And, fundamentally, that's the capability that you want. Well, to do that, you've got to have a certain amount of learning and understanding, and it's got to be matched to the technology that you use. So you might have some of that technology today, you just don't know it. Or you might need to modify something or combine two pieces of technology or the data from two pieces to be able to get a response. But the concept of, can it enable or will it stall your growth? It's really a capability conversation about the people and the use of the technology.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why we always start there. I know it's usually the problems manifest, either you believe they're in people or technology, to your point. Oftentimes it's really around strategic alignment and the velocity that you need to get in the marketplace, and how does technology enable that, right? And do you have the right people around that often? So it's almost like backing up. People assume that they've got all the process in place and they've got all the strategies aligned. And as we talked about in our last conversation, that's not always the case, right? And technology is not a silver bullet.
No.
So when you look at this and you walk into customers, what are some of the clues you look at when you're saying, okay, great, I feel like this technology stack is either missing some pieces, but really is optimized or not optimized?
Yeah. So much of it starts with conversations around the KPIs, the things that they want to measure. As you mentioned before, if you're trying to measure too much, it really makes us start to dig in and ask the questions, why are you measuring this? Why are you measuring that? And the reason why we do it that way is, what we're really trying to understand is, where are you in this maturity curve, this evolution? People didn't become Amazon, or Amazon didn't become Amazon in a day. It's taken them 20 plus years, 30 years to get there. People have to learn how to do things. They have to understand the benefits to them. They have to understand when they did something wrong. They have to learn as they go. And as they build up that level of knowledge, they're able to then do things like make recommendations, dynamically price, et cetera. But those things don't happen until a person gets there. And so what we typically look for in this kind of your question of optimization of the stack is, what are the tools that you're using? 9 times out of 10, 3/4 of them, 80% of them are fine tools. They just aren't being used fully, or they aren't being used in combination with other things. Because remember, the whole goal of this is getting the right content to the right person at the right time in a means that matters to them on the right channel, in their phone, in the car, on their laptop, at work, whatever. And so to do that, it's really the integration, the combination of multiple systems, content systems, CRM systems, marketing campaign tools, analytic tools to be able to combine data and evaluate it, pricing tools, et cetera. I mean, the list goes on and on. And so this optimization question is really, where are you in the maturity curve, right? What tools do you have today, and are you exploiting them properly? If you are, then we have a good base to where you are. And then we start asking questions of, based on what you're trying to do with your business, where do you want to get to? Yeah. And so then we can optimize to where you want to be, not just optimize the tools that you have.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great. I often find when you walk into organizations, it's combining where you are in the maturity curve with what you're saying around the silver bullet, right? So oftentimes, you see customers and clients, and they'll go and pick the top upper right-hand quadrant of, pick your favorite software evaluation platform, and they'll say, this is in this quadrant, so it must be the silver bullet that will enable my business, right? It's not always the case. Depends on where you are. Yeah.
Exactly. Does it work with the other things that you've picked in that top
That's
quadrant?
Right.
Do your people have any clue how to use them?
Yes. That's right.
So it's, and when I say clue to use them, I don't mean that in a negative way, like, I can't publish content or whatever. But remember, publishing a piece of content means so much different to everyone. A single piece of content to a buyer versus somebody doing research, to an older person, a younger person, a minority, a non. I mean, the picture you use, the words you use, they all mean different things. And if you're not really understanding who you're talking to and what they're looking for, and you're not measuring, you're not thinking about it, you'll never improve. And so, getting people in that mindset and getting them to use the tools the right way is critical.
Listen, we could have a whole nother conversation around lifetime value and technology platform picks. And I often talk about, it's not just the installation costs or the software licensing costs, but how complicated is it to run it? And can your sales and marketing team actually get in and work it, rather than having to rely on IT all the time? Because they always have a queue, and they've always got plenty to do within an organization, right? So again, that's a longer conversation. So if you think you've got an issue, and you think, hey, I think technology, because it's starting to manifest it there, where do you start? There's a lot of tools out there, right?
Oh my God. There are over 7,000 marketing technology tools out there. Yeah. And every one of those companies that has one of those tools, their marketing people will convince you that it's what you need. It's the best thing since, sliced bread or whatever. And the reality is, it could be a good tool for you, but it may not be the right time for that tool. Yeah. It could be a good tool for you if you made a different decision on another tool. And so it really is a web that you have to weave together. And the only way to weave that web correctly is through a roadmap, is objectively understand where you are today, what you can actually do today, and then start to plot out where do you want to be. If being like Amazon with commerce and recommendations and follow-up campaigns and an ecosystem is where you want to be, that's a long road to get there. Yeah. And understanding where you objectively and the steps to take, you've got to take one step at a time. And so the only way to do that properly is through a roadmap. As the old expression goes, how will you know you got there if you don't know where you started? And it really is the case here. So
you don't always have to spend $1 million a year to get the best software for where you are, right?
No. Yeah. It's shocking how much you can actually accomplish with combining what you have, getting some good analysis around it, and making incremental improvements in just how you tag, how you personalize. Start out with some basic A and B testing. You know, if I offer this content with this picture, is that better than the same content with a different picture? Just
Yep.
simple stuff.
Yep.
And then as you start to build from that to see results that tie back to your KPIs, you can start to multivariate test. You can do more testing. You can evaluate other options. But all of that starts with know where you are and know where you want to go.
Absolutely. I love that point. Get yourself where your organization has a number of known truths, right? That aren't about thinking or I think that this works or my opinions, but really get to a place where these are the facts, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Tom, this is great. I got a couple things out of this. Number one, and I think these are really insightful. Number one, there is no silver bullet when it comes to technology. So no matter what software platform or technology you're picking, know where you are in your maturity curve, right? And I think that's a technology and a revenue maturity curve. And kind of build yourself a roadmap to where you want to be and pick your technology along that roadmap. And I think that's really smart. Some technology is interchangeable and some is a little bit more permanent. So know where you're at and know what you're going to change out and when you think that will be a part of that and make that part of your planning process, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure. Tom, this has been great. Thank you for joining me.
It was a pleasure as always, Greg. Look forward
All
to the
right.
next one.